believe it or not, I'm a true Floridian coming to Omaha, Nebraska. I was born in Miami Beach, Florida. My grandparents came from Minsk, Russia. And my grandparents traveled from Minsk, Russia. They were youngsters, 16, 17 years of age. And they traveled to New York, to Ellis Island in New York City. And from New York City, they had relatives there. And they stayed up in Parksville, New York for a while. And they had a little resort, summer resort, right by the Browns Resort and several other famous resorts up at what they call the Borscht Circuit, upstate New York. About 90 miles upstate from New York City. And all the Jewish kids and Jewish adults would go up to the Borscht Circuit, the resorts, during the summer. And that was their summer vacation. Then the movie Patrick Swayze, that movie that everyone loves so much, it shows you the Jewish doctors and the Jewish lawyers. Well, that's where my parents and my grandparents started, up in New York and upstate New York. Well, anyway, then they went down to Miami Beach, Florida, from upstate New York, and they bought an apartment complex. And my grandfather was a teacher, and he was a carpenter and a painter. And that's the way he made his living. And they bought an apartment complex that we lived in. But I was born in Miami Beach, Florida, and went to Miami Beach Elementary School, Miami Beach High School, and I played football at Miami Beach High School. And then I got a partial scholarship to go to the University of Miami and the University of Alabama and the University of Florida. Many of my relatives were studying to be doctors, and they were at the University of Alabama, which is a terrific medical school. And a lot of Jewish kids from all over the country went to the University of Alabama. We had AZA, we had many of the Jewish fraternities, AEPI, ZVT, which I was a member of back between 1958 to 62. And I played football at the University of Alabama my freshman and sophomore year. And of course I was there when Bear Bryant came later on my senior year, and Joe Namath came. So, you know, and I knew all those guys, and one of my roommates was Leroy Jordan, who played defensive for Dallas Cowboys. But anyway, I met my wife at the University of Alabama, Joy Frieden, Frieden, I believe. Joy's parent, Joy had a brother, John Frieden. I moved to Omaha, Nebraska to follow my fiancee, Joy, to Omaha. Joy was an Omaha native, born in Omaha, and I followed her. We were engaged. We had gotten engaged, so I moved here to, and I was at the University. I graduated at the University of Alabama, and in '62, and then I came here and I furthered my studies at UNO, and I wanted to go into pediatrics. Actually, I wanted to become a doctor at first, and work with children. But then I went into health and physical education, and anatomy and physiology, and exercise physiology and recreation. So I decided to become a teacher and a coach. And my first job in Omaha, Nebraska, actually my first job right out of college, was with the United Way of the Midlands, and I was working at the South Omaha Social Settlement Association, and with the youngsters and the teens and the kids down in South Omaha. And then the job for athletic director opened up. Irv Yaffe was chairman at that time, and Kiwi Kirschenbaum and Cal Kirschen was on that committee. Many of the leaders of our community were on the Health and Physical Education Committee. in 1962, 63. And we were downtown, of course, on 19th and Dodge. So I applied for the job, and the athletic committee, we were downtown on 19th and Dodge, and one of the issues was, how can we get the Jewish children to participate in athletics? Well, we had the teenagers coming over from Central High School, and as many of you recall how small the J was, and yet thousands and thousands of kids came to the Omaha JCC, number one, to learn how to swim. Many people in Omaha, that was their first place to learn how to swim. And Joe Mysick was there, and Sherman Posca was there, and Dick Weiner was there, the youth director. So, and I became the health and physical education director. Dick Weiner worked with the teenagers. And Paul Barrett was the executive director at that time. And of course, Paul Barrett, the executive director, he loved books, and he loved the library. And of course, he opened up in one of the finest Jewish, Judaic, Christian libraries that the city has to date. Many people don't realize that many students from Creighton University and other universities come to the library, to the Jewish library, to study, and theology students come and everything. But anyway, getting back to the gym and the health and physical education, which is my love, the gym that we had, of course, was like an elementary-sized gym, and here are these big kids and teenage boys and everything playing in that small gym, and we had that track above the gym that you could hardly shoot from the corners. And if you ask many of the kids today, or the kids that played back then, who are now in their 50s and 60s, what was it like playing basketball at the old J, they're going to tell you the greatest thing was that corner shot or underneath the track. And anyway, so, but the main thing is, we had the beautiful thing is that we had, back then we started children from preschool on up through high school. So we had the tiny tots, the preschool children 2.5 to 5 years old, and then we had the little league, and the midget league, Olympic league, and high school youth council league. So you had 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, and then high school, junior high, and then the Olympic league, and then the varsity league and the high school league. Our preschool program was the first preschool tiny tot program in the city, health and physical education program for preschool children, and we had children 2.5 to 5 years old doing all kinds of wonderful things in the gym. Anyway, I believe that every child, every Jewish child, should have an opportunity to have fun and enjoyment, and when they play any sport, the first thing is that it should be fun and fun for the child, enjoyable to the child, and also that every child should have a chance at playing and an opportunity to play, and team not only individually to gain individual confidence in themselves, but to get along with other children, and how to get along with other children, teamwork, how to be successful at, well, how to be humble even if you lose, and be a good sport. So that's a very important lesson in learning in life, is learning how to be a good sport, and confidence in yourself, and a good team player, and show respect to the other team. And I think this you instill, and I see this in our kinder today, our children today, as grown-up men and women. They've taken some just wonderful places in our community as business people and doctors and lawyers and all kinds of fields in our community. And I believe that they got that from the Jewish Community Center. I think the Jewish Community Center is one of the most wonderful places in the world for all children to come to because of everything that they offer and how they care about their community and care about the children. And I try to instill that in the kids that I coached and taught. Also, our camps were the best in the world. We had our preschool camp, we had our kiddie camp, and we spelled it Kiddie camp, K-A-M-P, and we had the Sunshine Country Day Camp. As we started moving out west and plans were being made for a new Jewish community center, we started programming so that our family, it would be easy for our Jewish families to get to programs, to take their children to programs. So we started using different facilities. We used King of Kings Church, for instance, on 119th and Bird, I believe. Burke, they have a beautiful gymnasium. So we would rent that gymnasium on a Sunday so our kids could play basketball. And we did outreach programs. We did flag football in North Omaha. We did softball at Elmwood Park. I mean, and many of the kids will remember playing at those different places. So we were doing programming and during the summer for our families that were moving out west. Then I think I'm rambling all over the place, but anyway, our day camp, we rented a piece of land on 144th and Q Street, which is right next to Walnut Park, on 144th and Q Street. And we rented this place for day camp for a in-town summer day camp because we hadn't bought the land that the new center is on yet. It hadn't been developed yet. So we were using that site all summer for our day camp. Well, we brought in horses for pony rides. We had kiddie camp for the 2.5 to 5-year-olds, which was a half-day kiddie camp. And then we had a lake, a little pond that was built, a lake for canoeing and rowboating. We had nature, arts and crafts, everything that you would have in a camp. And the children were from 8 to 12 years of age. I mean, or from 5 to 12 years of age. Would go all day at day camp, and it was Sunshine Day Camp, sponsored by the Jewish Federation of Omaha. So, and many of our counselors were juniors and seniors, junior counselors and counselors in training in high school. So many of our Jewish kids would become counselors during the summer and work with the children in different activities and spend a day with the children going to different activities. Sherman Pasco was the director of Esther K. Newman Camp, and of course, God love Sherman Pasco. I remember one time he wanted a wagon, and he wanted the wagon to be pulled by donkeys, and he went out and he went looking for donkeys, and he found a matching pair of donkeys, and they were called Tom and Jerry, and he would hook those donkeys up to the wagon, and he'd have a hay wagon, a chuck wagon, and the kids would eat out of the back of the chuck wagon. You know, that was Uncle Sherman. You know. Anyway, at Esther K. Newman Camp, of course, we had it was a beautiful overnight camp for our Jewish kids from all over, and non-Jewish, but primarily Jewish children, and each age group had their own cabin. There were 4 cabins. At Esther K. Newman, there were 4 cabins, and then a washroom and a shower room in the middle, and was Esther K. Newman Camp. And our children could go 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or 8 weeks away to Esther K. Newman Camp, but later on, many of the Jewish kids started going out of state into different camps, Camp Sabra to St. Louis and other camps, which I was sad to see happen. I was at Esther K. Newman Camp for a few years as the assistant director under Uncle Sherman Pasco, and then, of course, then it was recommended that I have a full-time, that the Jewish Community Center have a full-time camp director during the summer, and also during the summer that we started running sports camps. At that time, we were also going through a executive director change, and we had several different executive directors prior to moving into the new center in 1975. Well, in 1975 on, we had several different directors who had different philosophies and different thoughts about what programs we should have. The proudest thing I want to say some of the wonderful things that we did at the new Jewish Community Center when we opened up. We started the first cardiac rehab program, phase 3 cardiac rehab program in the state of Nebraska and Iowa. Dr. Eugene Zweiback, who is everyone knows is a leading cardiologist in this community. This was Clarkson Hospital at that time. So many of the doctors at Clarkson Hospital helped us. When a person has a heart attack, they stay in the hospital, which is phase 1 right after the heart attack, and they stay phase 2 in the heart attack having rehab. Now they can continue at the hospital with rehab, and sometimes their insurance paid for it longer or not. But anyway, we started a phase 3 cardiac rehab program, working with insurance companies, working with doctors, under the leadership of Dr. Eugene Zweiback and several other cardiologists at Clarkson. And they would come to the J, and many were Jewish participants who had bypass surgery, and they would participate at the J under the leader, with doctors there present and nurses present there in case anything should happen. So that was one of the wonderful programs that we had here. The other thing is that I became Dr. William Palmer, a leading rheumatologist here in Omaha. I went to the Nebraska Iowa Arthritis Foundation and the American Lung Association, which Steve Reiches was involved with, and the Lung Association, and we started the first chair exercise program for persons, a group chair exercise program, and I became certified by the Nebraska Iowa Association to teach chair exercises for people who have rheumatologists, orthopedic problems at that time. So these were proud things that I was proud of. The other thing was our basketball, going back to the JCC basketball, we had kids that were really good athletes. And I remember starting back in 58, 59, I'm going to go back a little bit, but 58, 59, 60, Bill Ginsberg, Nate Amster, Danny Katsky. I mean, those were tough boys, and they were good basketball players. And we had a great team, and we entered them in a city league, and then we traveled to, the beautiful thing was traveling to Sioux City, back and forth on a home and away game, traveling to Des Moines, Iowa with their Jewish community, and we'd have home and away basketball games all day with our 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, and high school. And it was just a fun thing for the Jewish communities to get together, and we look forward to that every year, once a year, to do that home and away games with Sioux City and Des Moines. The kids always used to tease me, Chuck, if we lose to Des Moines or we lose to Sioux City, you're gone. You know, I believe them. I really believe them. But anyway, we had the fun, the camaraderie, and the getting along with one another. It was just fantastic. So I certainly wanted to bring that up. The other thing that I'm very proud of is our Maccabi game. Before I left the J, the Jewish Community Center, we put together several committees, the whole community. We outbid, there were several cities. St. Louis wanted to host the Maccabi games. Dallas wanted to host the Maccabi games, but we got the bid for Omaha, being the brand new center that we are, with the beautiful basketball courts 2 high school regulation basketball court, a collegiate basketball court, Olympic swimming pool, indoor Olympic swimming pool, the tennis courts. But we were the first, because of our beautiful new facility. We won the bid for the Maccabi Games, and that takes the whole community effort. And that's what's beautiful about Omaha community and the Jewish community. When they rally together to do something, they do it, and they do it right. And I was so proud that when I left in 1999, 2000, just before that, we had hosted the Maccabi Games, and over 200 Jewish youth from Israel, from all over the United States, came here to Omaha, and host families. Everyone stayed at a home, a host family, and we had tennis, we had chess, we had racquetball, we had golf, we had tennis, we had basketball tournament, and we had all the different sports for the Maccabi Games, and it was just a wonderful sight to have here in Omaha, Nebraska. When we had the Maccabi Games, we had over 100 volunteers come together. There was the committee to host the children, to arrange, homes for every child, because that was one of the regulations, the laws, or rules, to have the Maccabi Games, that every child stay in a Jewish home. So there had to be the housing committee, then there had to be the transportation committee, that all these kids are either they're being dropped off at the center from the host families, or they need to be picked up at their sport venue, where the venue was. We went to UNO and had use their swimming facility, so we wouldn't interrupt the use here. So we actually rented we rented and used UNO swimming pool, which was Olympic size, and for racing and swim meets. And then we used the tennis courts. We rented the tennis courts over here, the public tennis courts, and also golf course. So we had committees for each one of these sport venues and all their volunteers, and then they had to get the referees and the officials for every sport. So you're talking about a humongous undertaking that you can be proud of, that this community, which I'm very proud of. It's amazing that we put that off. You can come to the Jewish Community Center and you'd see these teenagers all over with their t-shirts from their different cities, and they were trading t-shirts, and they were, and pins from different communities, sport pins with their logos on it, and making flag. And the Olympic event was at the UNO Fieldhouse. The opening event was for our Maccabi Games, it was at UNO, and each city and each Jewish Community Center had their flag and marching just like the real Olympics. Steve, we had the actual, nobody knew this or remembers this, but we had the actual trophy flown in from Israel, the Olympic trophy, and it should be here somewhere, because and Steve Reiches ran with that Olympic trophy. Now, because he was a runner, and he ran around the circle in the opening thing and lit. We had something that they send that you light specially for the Olympic torch to burn, and so we had that actual Olympic torch. Many people didn't know that we had that here, and that was all arranged secretly, but. So we can be very proud of that. Also, I didn't mention that the budget for this was $100,000, approximately $100,000, and we had to have a fundraising. So way before the games, certainly we had to raise money to hire all these referees and officials.
We're good. It's a good.
forgot to mention, going back, I'm going to come back, but going back to the Sunday basketball. Sunday was the day at the J. I mean, that's when everything, that's where all the athletics and sports we participated in, and that's the youth council. The youth council were made up of RAIM, AZA1, AZA100, and later on it was Chaim Weitzman when we moved into the new building, and they would compete against one another every Sunday morning. Then we would pick an all-star team from the youth council, and we had volunteer fathers as the coaches, and the volunteer fathers, had met with the officials, and we had officials on Sunday that would officiate the games, and so the dads, the parents could not interfere in the games. They couldn't be yelling and screaming at their children and yelling at their individual children, which I remember sometimes that happened. Quite often it happened. And so we had wonderful volunteer dads participation. In the news center, we had women coaches. We had some women coaches, and in tennis, for instance, we had I didn't know that much about tennis, but we had to hire a tennis coach and tennis instructors to start tennis leagues and tennis programs. And Sarah Ann Gitnick, God love her, she was the force, and Fran Corn and Sarah Ann Gitnick both were very active in our tennis program, and encouraged us to have that program. And so was Sandy Friedman, and the Friedman family, and their daughter started playing, taking lessons here, and of course she's a state champion and a high school champion in tennis. So we're very proud of that part of our history and our background in the sports. When I left the Jewish Community Center, the Maccabi Games certainly was one of the proudest programs and events that our community, in the 28 and a half years that I've been with the Jewish Community Center, was one of the proudest moments in my life to see that happen, and for our Jewish community to support and to have such a wonderful program and event. And when I left, you're never too young and you're never too old, and that was my philosophy. And you can learn at any age, and you can improve yourself at any age. So I decided I wanted to go into gerontology, and I was taking classes at UNO in gerontology and at the nursing school. And there was an opening for an executive director's job at the Council Bluffs Senior Center in Council Bluffs. And in 1990, in 2000, I became the executive director of the Council Bluffs Senior Center. And that was a nonprofit, a nonprofit agency. It was all by volunteers. They didn't have any state, city funding or money at all. They actually had to do it all on their own through bake sales, soup suppers, bingo, and you had to be 65 years of age in order to be there. It was a meal site, so they actually came 3 times. They came 5 times a week for lunch, and many of them it was their only meal. And so that was with the Visiting Nurses Association. So we had health clinics only for seniors, and I became the executive director. And they had no fitness or exercise programs or anything like that. And of course, that being my strength, and also I had to do all the fundraising. So their budget, you're looking at a $50,000 a year budget. So there wasn't much for an executive director nor for much staffing and programming, but I was with them for 15 years, and I raised $5 million, helped raise $5 million, and we built a brand new senior center in Council Bluffs, and it's the Council Bluffs Senior Center on Main Street in Council Bluffs, and it has an indoor warm water swimming pool, therapeutic, so you can actually take a wheelchair and go right into the water for handicapped people. It's only 4 foot deep, so it's used strictly for therapy, warm water therapy, and several, Jenny Edmondson Hospital and Mercy Hospital use it for water therapy for their seniors. And then we have a gym area, fitness, the Sam Marvin Fitness Center, named after Sam Marvin, one of our business leaders in Omaha. And then we have classrooms and computer rooms, so seniors can learn about how to use a computer. We have arts and crafts. So actually, in a big dance hall, and it's really become one of the favorite places for seniors to go and have ballroom dancing. And we would bring in a quartet or a band once a week, so on a Wednesday and Wednesday night, and it's open to all seniors and everyone to go. And at first they didn't have a membership. Actually, you didn't have, as long as you were a senior, you could come, and there was no membership to join or anything. But since they needed income, the only way that really they can develop income and charge for would be a fitness membership, a health and fitness membership. So of course they could either have a swimming membership only, and that's all they would be interested in, or they'd be interested in a fitness membership, would be the fitness center. And then the other is a social educational area. Well, the social education area, you don't have to be a member of. It's free. The senior center is free to any senior, or there's scholarships for seniors in the community if they can't afford a membership. So anyway, the beautiful thing is, as I said, it was run by volunteers. Everything was done by volunteers until later on when we opened up the new center. So that's I'm certainly proud to be a part of that and participate and be the executive director of Council Bluffs Senior Center. But I just working at the Jewish Community Center of Omaha is a privilege. I found it to be a privilege. I found it to be the Jewish Community Center in the Jewish Federation is the most wonderful organizations that you'll find in the world. In my opinion, it is the most caring and caring for their own, caring for others. The Jewish Community Center and the Jewish Federation, they have a mission, they have goals, they have purposes. They meet those. They hire only professional people and only caring and wonderful people in their positions, their professional positions, and their volunteer positions. So to me, I'm proud to be a part of the Jewish Community Center and the Jewish Federation. Thank you and I'm Chuck Arnold, Uncle Chuck Arnold, and I was the athletic director from 1962 until 2000, 28 and a half years. So thank you.